So wanted to thank Bill for his help over the weekend and last week. Helped me kind of pull this all together. I'm going to quickly go through this, and I apologize if I have to maybe in like 10 or 15 minutes pull away. But so my flow, basically, my goal was to try to explain what a day in the life of an emergency department is for my hospital administration, and to try to tell the story a little bit more accurately than existing data sources and visualization tools that are used. This swarm that you can see depicts 24 hours worth of patients, and there is some, let me see if it'll work. Yeah, there is some, if you go over and then you can see different information about the patients. So the first number is their length of stay, why they're here for, and so that's kind of just the general swarm of patients. Then starting to look at it a little bit closer, then we can start seeing on arrival time when the patients are coming, and what their ultimate, what we call disposition is. So at 1 a.m., 5 patients showed up, 2 of them ended up being admitted, 3 were discharged, and so on and so forth. This can be looked at in a different way. I had to put this step in there. I think it can be improved. But the goal of this step is to kind of separate and allow some interaction. So what's always of concern is maybe why people leave against medical advice, which would be in the middle. There's another level of patients that left before their treatment is complete, or worse, left before being seen. So these are very important for waiting room patients and departments with a long waiting room time, that patients leave, and that's a high-risk situation for those patients. This is just another visualization of the encounters based on provider. So the providers are listed here, and then by hour of day. Certain departments have different ways of distributing patients, but this is another way to make sure that the distribution of patients is fair. Stepping back and looking at the swarm, this is probably the more interesting thing for me, and something I've been thinking about for a long time, to understand the patient journey from an individual standpoint. And if you do look at an individual patient's journey throughout the healthcare system, depending on what area they're in, they arrive, they receive a bed, and they're ready to be seen. A decision is made, which is called the disposition, and then they leave. In departments, in hospital departments, those processes each have different lengths for a variety of reasons. But I think it gets interesting when you start extrapolating that for all the patients. And then you can start looking in a little bit closer and trying to understand, in this patient, why was the beginning of that journey so much longer than others, and helps understand inefficiencies. And then you can also extrapolate that by provider. Definitely need to work on this more, to try to make it a little bit more overseeable. But here you can see 3 providers and their journeys, and that's essentially my flow. So happy to have any comments or feedback, but that's what I was able to work on last week.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks, Alpha. And the thing I really like about your flow, it's got such a clear storyline. I mean, you set it up, why has the flow been put together, and what are you trying to accomplish through it? And then I thought your delivery, in such a quick period of time of a good story was really, really interesting. I learned a lot more about the emergency department than I had ever known before, about things that are really important.
Yeah, that was really great. I had a quick question actually on slide or step, I think 3 or 4.
Okay. Let me go back to it. Step 3, this one?
Yes. So the number of encounters, is that a running sum of the day, or is that the total for that hour? It was.
Yeah, so this is, and what I ended up discovering is that I need to tweak my data set to make it reflect, and maybe that's just my inexperience, but what this, the y-axis does represent the count of patients effectively, or events or encounters, but for that time. So at 1 a.m., it should be 5 or 4, excuse me, there's 4. At midnight, there were 6 people that arrived. So that's what that depicts, the y-axis.
Got it.
But I think there
Okay.
are some, I think the data set needs to be optimized, or the way that I use the labeling to make it a little bit more clear. And this was at the beginning of my process of creating it. So I think this might need to be tweaked. It might be superfluous because this step, I don't know why it's doing that. This step kind of tells that story well.
Right.
And it's a bridging step more towards this, because I think this is a little bit more interesting because there are certain groups of final disposition. So again, the ones that I mentioned that are more interest, the admitted patients and the discharged patients, their arrival times isn't that concerning or important.
Yeah.
There's a standard way that most people come between midnight, 12 noon and midnight. And I think this step is a little bit more important for those admitted or discharged patients in terms of their journey.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think I love the beginning where each dot is an individual patient, and that you're classifying, and it's very easy to understand right away, even from that random series. It's like, okay, every dot is a person coming in. Let's look at it, and here's when they came in, and here is the action that was taken. And then this last one is sort of like more time series. It's like, well, what is your experience like in comparison to others? And I think actually there might even be a chance you can combine the two, where you can almost imagine that first dot, you see it expand out into this last visualization of showing, what has been the journey so far for them. But yeah, what other questions do other people have? But great job, Alpha. Yeah, really impressive to see all of those transitions and the different views. And I love I'm a big fan of these, of when you have multiple colors on the same line like this, and the colors transition between them. I'm a big fan of that visual, actually. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or from other people?
Yeah, it seems to me that this data set and this whole topic is very rich and has a lot of potential going forward for all sorts of interesting analyses or visualizations by provider. There's probably any number of ways, and probably part of that's flushing out the data set. But this impresses me as being kind of an open-ended kind of subject matter.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And if there was one main insight that you wanted to convey to your end audience from this visual, what would you describe as that main insight?
That's difficult. I mean, the frustration I had, and I mentioned this to Bill, is that the existing spreadsheets are very rudimentary, and they don't explain the story well. And I do think there's always that resistance from higher ups in organizations that providing more staffing. So my end goal is to argue that you need more nurses, you need more unit secretaries, you need more the staff to make the operations work, and people find those expenses maybe not reasonable. But I think the proof will be that if you can make these steps more efficient, that in the end everyone benefits, not only just the patient but the whole system. So that's kind of because I've collected a lot of staffing data. Fortunately, a lot of it is analog, so I have to convert it into digital framework. But I do want to overlap these patient journeys with all the strata of employees in the process, and doing some statistical evaluations to show that there's a direct or indirect relationship based on staffing availability and efficiency.
That's an amazing insight, or a big mission, and something that let's build out, because I'm sure there are many other hospitals and hospital systems that could benefit from a similar analysis or similar takeaway. So yeah, that's really powerful. Well, thank you so much for kicking things off, Alpha. This is you've set the bar quite high. So
No.
well, let's
I'm definitely out of my element. I'm not a data scientist, but I'm very curious, and I love the platform. I think it's gives a lot of opportunity.
well, thank you so much. All right. Who would like to go next? And also, it looks like there was a few comments here. Bravo and Jimmy, you had a quick comment there on.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. I like that.
Yeah, nice. All right, who would like to go next? All right, I'm just gonna go through the list as I see them. Brett, would you like to present your capstone next?
I don't have capstone ready. I think that I.
Okay.
Yep, not ready.
No, all good. Thanks for coming in. Solomon? Solomon, are you still there? Jimmy? There's Solomon.
Yeah, I'm there.
Hey, Solomon. Would you like to present your capstone?
So I didn't prepare anything. I just wanted to see everyone. I haven't done anything.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, and this main session, it's not necessary to present as the full session. We also have the individual signups to present the capstones as well. So no worries at all. And I see Jimmy is sitting in a hotel lobby at a trade show, so won't be able to present right away, but all good. And Martin, good to see you again. And sorry about your week of COVID. It does not sound very fun. So glad you're back with us and back in good spirits.
Thank you. And I was not able to finalize it, but next week.
Yeah, all good. Well, Alpha, you were the first and final for today. you have wowed us all, which is great. I think it's I know the turnaround was a little faster, and we have a lot of people signed up, not actually for this week, but for next week, for when they wanted to present. So take a little more time. So apologies if this session is a little shorter. I'm happy to answer any questions people have, or show a few things if that's helpful. Otherwise, no sense in keeping you guys, and can get you back to your day.
I had one or two questions on it. It was more on the data privacy. So if you want to do a flow, but if you share it then with like on the discovery, then everything is available to everyone, isn't it?
Yes, basically. And by everything, meaning the end visualization. Let me just go through the different share options, maybe,
Okay.
and that might just sort of codify everything. So within share, you have the ability to share privately. So by default, when I create a flow, when I save this flow, only I can see it. No one else will even see that it's around. And I'm just going to put a random swarm here just so we have something in here. And so within that dialogue, one thing you could do is share with an organization. So we have like Flow QA for our internal team, but for other companies, they have the drop down and they can select their company and share it just with their company. And so that's basically a list of people registered within Flow that will now have access. So you can do it that way, or you can share it.
So when you do that, like the other needs to have a license to be able to share with them.
They don't need a license in order to view. They need to have registered in order to view, and they need to be, so they need to be registered, and then they need to be on that organization list. And so typically with the organizations, at least how we've worked with people in the past, is that they give us a large list of who they want in basically are going to be part of this, and then they are added. But you can also just specify someone's email address directly or username, and then that gets sent to them. But they would need to be registered before, or actually, no, that's not true. They don't need to be registered. It will prompt them to register if they haven't registered, if you wanted to share with someone like a friend or something like that, just by putting their email. But that is a private share. So that is not in the Discover page. It won't be found anywhere, and you have to have a login, and you have to be on this registration list in order to see it. So there is, if I share with Flow QA, you'll see here that's in the right-hand side, you'll see the name and then what type of access they have. So right now it's just view access only, but I can give them edit access, or you can even give them admin access to actually delete the whole flow itself. So different levels of access for the private share. Publish for discovery is basically taking this link and putting it on the Discover page, which is really meant for our growing number of users and creators to be able to share their creations, and isn't as curated as the featured flow list. So this is a little bit of sort of everything out there, and like the Jimmy's Cat 5 study out there, and many others that you can sort of explore. So that's the point of Discover, and that will be built out, more and more. The other thing
But
to
when
point out here is
just on that one, when you share on the Discovery, or even when you do a private share, they always have the possibility to access the data on the swarm. For example, they can go and look at the data, isn't it?
If they have edit access, they can go into the swarm itself and go into the editor and then go to data source, and you can download the raw data file from there.
But so if they don't have edit, they cannot, and in that sense. So because I was playing with one of them and just doing a copy of it, of a flow. So I could not edit that, but when I do the copy, then at that time I can edit and see the data. Or it's, if you only have view, you cannot do a copy of it.
Right. So when you have view access, you can make a copy of it. So there's another flag that's not in the save sections, but it's actually in settings, called allow remix. And you can, by default, that is checked on. You can also check it off. And what remix basically says is, can someone take this flow that I made and save a copy so that they can do their own iteration or instantiation? And if you uncheck that, they will not be able to save their own copy. So if you have that unchecked and you have view only access, then you basically you're stuck in viewership mode. No, I believe in so that's how that works. And just a few other things to quickly note on that. Besides Discovery, if I unpublish, there is the shareable link. So if I enable shareable link, basically when I click that button, that then publishes to this URL. So now there is a URL that anyone can go to, irregardless of access. And this is a public URL that they can then view this flow. And if remix is on, then they can also save a copy of that flow. If I click share public link, this just gets the same URL, but gives you a QR code as well. And you can email that to people, or publish it or share it other ways.
So you can, if you do just that public share or the shareable link, did that remain permanent, and like anyone at any time can connect to it? So it's not the same as when you do a meeting. Correct.
It's permanent.
Okay.
Yep. So it's sort of a permanent ID that you can point people to get there. And even on that, you can also get the embed code. So
Mhm.
the embed code will allow you to then actually embed this on your website. You can actually make the background transparent too, which is kind of fun. So it actually blends into your website essentially, or the
Okay.
HTML page. So just another way you can post it. So if you think of it as like Google Docs, if you guys are familiar with the Google Docs, when I click on enable shareable link, this is basically an unlisted link. Like it's a
Mhm.
public,
Mhm.
anyone can type it in and get to it, but it's not published anywhere. Published for Discovery means now it is actually on a page where people can reference it or search for it. And share privately would be keeping everything in Google private and sharing specifically with someone's email address, and then certain levels of access within that. So yeah, it's very similar to sort of Google Docs in terms of the sharing mechanism, if that makes sense.
One question, so if it's if you share private, then is it going to, do you have to have an email address to allow it to be private, or can it just be private without making it, without sending it to somebody? Because
Sorry,
I
so-
see that they're private, and then, but it says invite somebody an email. So I was just wondering, can it be in a private state without having shared it to an email account?
Yes, so by default, when you save your flow or create your flow, it will be private only to you.
Okay.
And then from there, the share privately, you can specify specific URLs or
Okay.
specific people to share it with. But by default, even if there's nothing in here and everything is off, it basically by default will be only for you in private.
Oh, thank you.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so what other questions we got? Let's see. So Solomon, you can definitely take some more time and later this month present. And we have a playlist out for the last 4 sessions. So if you want to review those, it's probably your fastest means to get up to speed. But feel free to reach out to us, and I'll put a link to that YouTube in our in the chat window here in just a moment. So sure. All right. Very good. What other questions do people have for today?
I've got a quick question for Jimmy. Now, Jimmy, I know you're in the hotel lobby. I don't know if you can talk now or not, but I'm interested in your experience in hosting a flow on your website. How that went, if you encountered any difficulties and whatever. And if you can't speak due to your location, that's fine. Just let us know.
It was quite simple. I was able to get it onto the site. It wanted to go, I think it was just my site, all the way to the edges. I made it 75% and centered, and it looks pretty good. And I've been showing it to people at the trade show actually as an example of what's possible just on a website. The only thing I would say is you can't do the AR experience on a mobile showing the site by itself through embedded hosting. You have to go actually to a.flow.gl, and then you get the AR experience and are able to show that. That's the only caveat, but it was super easy once I had the link.
Got it. Yeah, I actually wasn't aware of that limitation that you can't go into AR mode from an embedded website, but it does actually make sense now. I think about it, but
Yeah, there's extra security around the iframe embed, and AR, since AR opens your camera, that's a little hard to overcome.
that makes sense. Very cool. Well, very cool. And we'll look forward to hearing more about the conference and other people, or what other people say, and showing them. But no need to keep you guys longer here. Alpha, thank you for really kicking things off in high gear, and looking forward to seeing other presentations. Martin, glad you're feeling better. Brett, it's good to see you again, and look forward to connecting with you further. And Jimmy, I know you got your Cat 5 study going away. So looking forward to hearing more. Oh, and it looks like Tabitha. I don't know if I saw your name earlier, if I missed you. But if you came on to present, you are welcome to. We were actually just wrapping up because we are done for today's presentations and have gone through.
Hey, yeah, I don't have anything to present. I was just trying to catch up. I'm gonna catch up on my trainings.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, all good. So a lot of people in that boat. So we have a playlist. I just put it in. Oops, I put that to Solomon. To everybody. So that YouTube playlist has the last certified flow training sessions, and so that's probably your fastest bet to get up to speed. But yeah, definitely feel free to reach out to Bill, myself, or Jason, or Anushree. So our first name at flow.gl or info. Any means you can get a hold of us, we'll respond back and work with you. But yeah, thank you guys all so much for your time today. And with that, we will follow up with you, Alpha, and then for everyone else, we'll try to schedule separately or just in our next training sessions next week, as well as we have one tomorrow, in case you want to come to the later afternoon session at 5:30 p.m. Pacific. All right.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Bye-bye.